I'm with you on that. Certainly, those clubs should not have key roles anymore. But also, two things. Let's not be naive. This Super League is going to come back sooner. At some point, they're going to try again. And you could say, okay, you could say to those clubs, come back.
When you say come back, do you mean come back with a closed format with guaranteed places?
Yeah, or something like this. They would try to come back for more power, more money, more games for them, more big games for them. This is not going to go away because maybe eventually at some point this will have to happen in a way or another with UEFA, being part of it, or FIFA or something. But maybe it will happen. So I don't believe that now that it's over, they all go back to what we had before and they're happy with that. They're not going to be happy with that, so I'm sure they're going to try again. We might have different directors, different people, after Florentino, after Agnelli, after Rummenigge, after Nasser Al-Khelaifi, all of that, but it will come back. What I would love to see, which will not going to happen, talking about naivety, is let's use what happened, Gab, in the last 3 days to make football better. There's still a lot of issues to be sorted out. Of course, money and how much smaller clubs get. Racism, huge. Inequalities, huge as well. Why don't we saw how much fans loved the game. We saw how much players, coaches were ready to fight for the game as we know it. Let's use all of that. Let's all get together because we saw that together you can make great things. Let's all be together and try to change the things that are not working well. Because right now, don't tell me that UEFA is all saints now because of what happened with the Super League. They have big issues as well, and for them, it's a lot about money as well. Let's not. And you see with the response or some of the stories that were leaked this week was UEFA saying, "Hey, we also have an investment company from London that can pump a lot of money into our Champions League, the UEFA Champions League, for you clubs. You want more money? We can give you that as well." So their response was not, let's not have a closed league because that's against competing and the spirit of the sport. It's like, hey, you want more money? We can provide more money.
Right, but to be fair to them, is the reason these clubs were doing the Super League was because they're hemorrhaging money. And they're saying UEFA can't provide the money because you divide in a way that's unfair because, the club from Belgium that qualifies gets this amount of money and we deserve more of it. That was their argument. So the way you shut them up is you say, let's all create more money. And that is also why we're moving to this expanded format in 2024, right? With 36 teams where you're going to play more games. Yeah. What I find interesting here is that we did touch upon it earlier, but is the fact that they negotiated this to generate more money already. Some people are saying we should go back. We shouldn't change the Champions League. We should go back to the way it is now. We should keep it the way it is now and not have these extra games and these extra teams and the Swiss model or whatever. Yeah. If you're Sheffrin, what do? Do you go back to that, knowing that would just anger them? Because for me, I think you have to try the Swiss model. You have to try the deal that you agreed. You have to push it through. Because if it generates enough money, and if on top of that you have the right kind of reforms in terms of governance, in terms of solidity, in terms of financial responsibility, and the right enforcement, and hopefully by 2024 we'll be out of this crisis, then that'll stave off the Super League more than if you say, no, we're not changing anything. We're keeping the current system. Because then those clubs will just be more hurt and more angry and more incentivized to break away.
I'm not too keen on the Swiss model, I have to say. Those two leagues, and you go and you play those 10 games and then the top 5 of each qualifier, whatever it is. I'm not too keen on it. However, you could sit down again and say, okay, let's maybe this format, which I find it heavy, not clear, and again, a bit rushed out to make those big clubs happy. I would say, okay, why don't we sit down and try to find another way of making everybody happy? So bigger clubs, smaller clubs, we can have more games, of course. Maybe just have, I don't know, a different way that is not the Swiss model, where everybody could be happy with it.
They did. They negotiated for 6 months, and this is what they come up with. Maybe there is a better way.
So
maybe one final point on this. I think it was 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, that Pep Guardiola came out in this rant, and he blamed FIFA and UEFA for they're playing too many games, killing the players or whatever. The Super League model would have had 25 European games, up from the current number, which I believe is 13, if you go straight to the group stage. The Swiss model is going to take it up to, I think, 17 games. This has got to come into play too. The amount of games that are played. And here, I think this is where you need a strong footballers union. They need to come out and do this. Because if the Premier League, like for me, the Premier League should go down to, I think every European league should have 16 teams in the top flight. This is my view. And you shouldn't have league cups and whatever. I think you could do it in a way without losing money overall, actually, without you actually benefit because the games would mean more. But
it's not that the league cups bring you a lot anyway.
It's ridiculous. But the issue here is if the Premier League cuts down to 16 games and UEFA cuts down with a slimmed down Champions League, what's going to happen? It's going to happen that these clubs are going to go on tour and they'll play a bunch of friendlies. So it's not going to be fewer games for the players. It is the players. If they feel they're playing too much, via their union, they need to stand up and make this point. Have a cap of games. Have a period where nobody's allowed to play any games in the summer. 3 weeks, 4 weeks off, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know who's the only people who can bring it, because this is something where both the clubs and UEFA, they all want to generate more money. You know, ultimately, the only people who can bring this, the people whose voice you haven't heard, are the players. We need to hear more from the players union, not just FIFPro and a friend Jonas Bear Hoffman who can dunk. I'm sorry, Jonas, nobody knows who you are, right? You don't have a loud enough voice. It has to be the PFA, players individualized. In the same way that you saw the leadership from Jordan Henderson. Yeah. Hey, you guys get together and make a stand and say, are we playing too much football? Because those are the people who have the clout. And if you want to say, oh, but you get paid millions for it, then you ask it to your membership, right? Yeah. Do I want a little bit less money, but to preserve my health, to help this model and do a little less? And I'm talking about the high end. I'm not talking about the guy in League Two who needs to play 64 games a year to make a living. That's fine. If you're happy with it, that's fine. But I'm talking about these players at the very top. They need to be part of this conversation. And I say this, your union has let you down. PFA, AIC in Italy, or whoever you are. Your union has let you down because you haven't had a unified voice in this.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.